The Ghost and Molly McGee. Leave your mind, you and me for all time. We're never, ever, ever gonna be alone again. The dream team, you and me, for all eternity. It's the ghost and Molly McGee. Been cursed, it's the worst. Now you're stuck with me. We're never gonna be apart, and there's a way to hit restart. No, we're the ghost and Molly McGee. It's me. Well, that's she. The Ghost and Molly McGee. The Ghost and Molly McGee. Coming this October to Disney Channel. What are we doing? Oh yeah, the movie. Hello, I'm here to talk about Raya and the Last Dragon, which is a Disney animated feature film that was released in spring of this year, 2021. Apparently, it still made a lot of money at the box office, so whatever. It seems like everything has worked out just fine for them. And from Disney's perspective, that's literally all that matters. It made more money. It didn't cause any huge controversies as far as I saw. Diversity, good thing. Representation, also a very good thing to have in contemporary filmmaking, especially filmmaking for children. This is definitely a movie for children. However, I wasn't thrilled about the movie overall. I think it's okay. I didn't think it was terrible. Does that sound familiar? Yes, that's how I feel about a lot of stuff, because most stuff that gets released is mediocre, at least in my eyes. This is the thing. For people who don't review stuff or share their opinions with people online and get yelled at for them, I need to explain how it's all about perspective, isn't it? I mean, obviously we all have our own experiences that form to make our essence, who we are as people. I already talked about the inherent subjectivity of all reviews and media criticism in another video that barely anyone has watched, so if you want to learn more about my thoughts on the whole situation, you can go over there. But basically, let's think of a movie like Raya and the Last Dragon as a house. It's a house metaphor. You have this house, and certainly from the outside, like all together, when you take it in, sort of the curb appeal, it's very nice. It's very pretty from the outside. It looks very well put together. Has some interesting decor on the front facade. Inside is very nice too. It's completely functional. You know, it has all the rooms you would want and expect from a house of this size. The basement is pretty nice. It's not finished. You could certainly do something with it if you want to. It's a very likable house, and for most people, it works just fine. When you look at the house from a different angle, you stand maybe around the side of the house, or you look under the crawl space, you notice that there are some like big supports that are just old and rotting, and they're really going to cause some major problems in the future. That's an issue, and that's worth talking about. Now, someone standing and talking about the house from the front side will just only have positive things to say. That's certainly the case with Raya and the Last Dragon. I think we have, oh my gosh, look at the Rotten Tomatoes scores for this thing. Basically perfect as far as Rotten Tomatoes goes. Now, obviously, we know Rotten Tomatoes is not the be-all, end-all of critique or how we value specific piece of media, but it's a very good indicator of how people generally felt, both critics and general audiences, and everybody seems to like this movie a whole lot. I heard no buzz about it. Again, apparently it made a bunch of money. I have not heard people talking about this movie online. I have not seen any hype for this movie sustained like more than a couple weeks after the release. And then when I finally got around to watching it earlier today, let's say I was the person over here looking at a different part of the house, and yeah, I think I do see some elements here that are very old, very antiquated, and not in a charming way. The antiquity of these elements is not an asset, especially when we're talking about how this movie, how this house functions, and how it will continue to function over time. Specifically, this movie brought to mind a pretty big topic that's I've been thinking about for a little while now, which is why does every movie studio, animation studio, even video game studios, why is everybody completely on board with steadily progressing the visuals of these art forms, but next to no one seems all that interested in progressing the storytelling side of things? I don't get why there's zero debate around whether movies should look better. Everybody wants movies to look better. The tech behind visual effects and computer animation is incredible, and they've invested advanced at insane rates for many decades now. There's no discussion about it. Everybody just assumes, yes, that's a good thing. That will make the movies better. That will make these video games better. And certainly on the visual level, Raya and the Last Dragon is on par with Disney's supreme reputation of quality. Look, wow, this is a modern-looking movie. It looks completely contemporary. Really cool particle effects. The color palette, not really to my taste most of the time. There's a lot of blue and purple, which strikes me as toy packaging palette. But, I didn't like how the humans looked most of the time. But whatever, outside of that, if you remove the characters and the animals and everything from these settings, what a visual treat. You get a lot of stuff here, and certainly a ton of care has been put into this. It's not necessarily impressive because everybody has become completely immune to impressive visuals, whether they're in live action movies or animated movies. But if you look closely, yes, it's a beautiful movie. But my God, storytelling feels so old here. It feels so dusty. It's the formula. We've talked about this many times before. Disney and plenty of other companies, they have their formula, and if that formula keeps resulting in products that make a bunch of money, there is no reason for them to question the formula or want to change it. Pixar has a really standard story formula. Disney's been using the same thing for a long time. They have like a formula for Marvel movies. They have a formula for the Star Wars movies. They have a formula for their animated features, and that's what they're using here. And it's not, specific to Disney animated features. It's been used in all kinds of storytelling for arguably hundreds of years. That's fine. Some people are fine with the idea of every story we tell being based in the hero's journey and never progressing further than that, because apparently that's the best we can do. I don't believe that at all. And so me, the guy staring at some of the rotting termite-filled support structure inside this house, I'm thinking, how can other people be okay with this? And some people might say, well, okay, the house, well, it's actually for kids, and the kids in here, it's fine. It's how they don't know. They don't know that the support beams are starting to rot away and that they're really ugly and awful. They're going to get everything from this house that they would ever want as children. But here's the thing, they're going to grow up. And when they grow up, they might start questioning things a little bit. They might start looking a little bit deeper into the house and find, this has been in bad shape for a long time. And that's kind of what I feel with a ton of storytelling. A ton of contemporary narratology is just so much of it is repetition, and I don't hear any opposition to that. I don't hear critics voicing problems with repeating narrative structures for thousands of years and never looking for anything more. I don't hear audiences asking for something new in the storytelling department. I don't know. I think I found maybe one critic review on Rotten Tomatoes for this movie that said, like, by the way, the storytelling feels like something out of a 1980s video game. More so than that, I think we can take it way further back. It's so stale, and that kind of ruins everything else for me. It kind of rots the house from the inside out, and I'm not a fan. I mean, other than that, anything else I have to say about the movie is pretty minor. The colloquial dialogue they have with some of the main characters, and of course Awkwafina, which is another thing, is pretty bad. In fact, there was a line, oh my god, it feels so outdated. Please hire younger writers. They're out there. There are people who are younger than 50 who can write good scripts and good dialogue and punch up existing scripts, who actually have an idea of what people say. And yeah, including any kind of colloquial dialogue in your movie will date it automatically. But if that's what you're trying to do, you could at least do it well. And in particular, Raya has this she's doing some, sarcastic back and forth, some sarcastic rapport with the main antagonist lady. And at one point, she's like, oh, what are you looking for all these jewels for? Even though we all know she's looking for the jewel things. And Raya goes, well, bling is my thing. And I curled up into a ball like the obligatory animal companion in this movie. And I was like, holy fuck. Like, it's not old enough and outdated enough to be like ironically cool again, but it's also nowhere near contemporary in what people actually say nowadays. So I was like, I guarantee if you look up screenwriters for this movie and all the story credits, there are like 7 or 8 story credits on this thing for some reason, which is not usually a good sign. I guarantee most of them are late 30s, 40s, 50s, etc. If there are any people under the age of 35 who wrote on this movie, who worked on this script, you should be ashamed of yourself for like not speaking up and letting them know that if they want to do colloquial dialogue, they did it wrong. And then we have Awkwafina. Some people have commented on the anachronism that results from her saying like very modern things and referencey humor when everything else is more or less within its own setting and within its own time period. Yeah, there's that. And then obviously we have the fact that especially over the last 2 years, people have really started to turn on the fact that Awkwafina seems to have built her whole career on doing black scent, and that's inherently appropriative, and maybe she didn't need to do that in the first place because she's a fine actor. Did you see her one dramatic movie, Farewell? It's fine. She does a good job. Comparisons to Eddie Murphy and Mulan are not uncouth, I think. Yeah, like I said, everything else is pretty minor, but the main thing is the storytelling feels so old at this point. And no, it's not just specifically Raya that has this awful, outdated storytelling, but it certainly came to a head for me when I was watching the movie. And since I know already everything that's going to happen by the end, because I know this story structure, I didn't care. I wasn't invested, and that made it really difficult to watch the whole thing and try to pay attention. It also has 20 minutes of credits, which is okay. But that's all. I've got to stop now. I hope you have a good day. I hope that other people have found enjoyment in this movie, and thanks for stopping by. Missing some of those lines. Let's try again. Believe you're all mine, you and me for all time. I'm never, ever, ever gonna be alone again. The dream team, you and me, for all eternity. It's the ghost, and Molly McGee. Then cursed, it's the worst. Now you're stuck with me. We're never gonna be